I've been playing Bethesda games for a very, very, very long time, like the early 2000s, long time ago. And a lot of you may not be able to understand how long ago that is. So just think of the oldest thing you can think of. And it was a couple years before that, because you're probably 18 according to my YouTube demographics. What I mean to say is that I have been a longtime fan of this little company called Bethesda, and an even bigger fan of this little man named Todd Howard. If you don't know, Todd Howard is sort of the spokesperson slash liaison slash king of Bethesda, and he speaks anytime they need to announce something or just fill you with hopium and sell you something. It wasn't until a month ago that I really bought into the hype of Starfield and really started letting Todd Howard whisper sweet nothings into my earlobe. The idea of a new Bethesda game that would, take me back 10, 15 years to when I was playing Bethesda games was really exciting to me. Like the idea that there's a new place to explore and there's a bunch of side quests and you can make your own ship and you can fly from planet to planet and do all this stuff. Like I was really starting to buy in, and it became less about like, oh, I'm going to buy this game because it's going to be funny when it does really bad and all the bugs are going to be super funny and I just want to be there for it. And more about like, this could be the game of the year. This could be it, which maybe it's someone's game of the year, but it's not mine. I mentioned before that bugs in games, as long as they're not game breaking, doesn't really bother me, and really neither does frame rate. I know a lot of people on the internet were getting really upset because Todd came out and he said it's going to be locked at a sturdy 30 frames per second. A lot of people lost their minds because the new generation is 60 frames per second. But like Tears of the Kingdom is 30 frames per second, and honestly 20. So, I mean, that's still really, really good. So it didn't really do anything to my expectations hearing that. As far as the bugs actually go, it's really, really polished, especially for a Bethesda game, because I was looking forward to laughing at some of this stuff. A lot of great comedy comes from early game Bethesda bugs. So I wouldn't have minded it either way, but it's pretty damn polished. I will say I'm having a very consistent, pretty funny bug that when my companion is following me, most of the time it's Sarah, and then someone else talks to me, it doesn't matter where Sarah is, the camera will like go to her to say something, even if she's in kind of a weird position. So like one time she was just like up against a wall and it still just went to her anyways. So it's pretty funny. It's not game breaking at all, but it is a pretty consistent thing.
Sarah, good to see you. Who's your friend?
Hopefully Constellation's newest member. Thought I'd run through some legwork together.
The space flight, okay? I know a lot of people were expecting to fly like from the planet's surface to outer space. And for me, I never expected that to be a thing. So I wasn't really let down by the fact that that wasn't the case here. But what is a little bit upsetting is that you can fly to different points on the planet, like they're different locations, but once you're on the planet, you can't just walk to those two same locations. Like it's like they're completely different places. They're not even on the same planet. So it makes these spaces that are supposed to be on the same planet feel very disconnected. And it makes the whole game feel disconnected when you're in the same solar system and you can't fly from planet to planet or even from planet to moon. I mean, you can, but it just takes a long time. And I feel like some people might say something like, oh, well, that's space. There's just vast spaces of nothingness and you're traveling for millions and millions of light years or light seconds or whatever. No, I get it. I get that it's real and that, of course, I need to fast travel. But if that's the case, then shrink your galaxy to size and make it take, 3 minutes to fly over to a planet. Like, I don't need it to be scientifically accurate. You can just say that my spaceship is super fast. I don't know. It feels like they leaned on the, it's realistic aspect of it and didn't really care much for the, okay, is this going to be fun to play if the player is going in and out of the menus every 2 seconds, because that is the biggest gripe for me. And this is just in the space travel, is how many times I have to go into a menu to go into a planet. I can't always just select from my spaceship, like from the cockpit, which part of the planet I want to land on. I have to like go in, select the part of the planet, and then click land. And that's just not, that layer of separation really breaks my immersion of it. And that's what we're going for, right? You know, it's an RPG, so I want to be as deep in as possible. And it just feels like I'm bouncing around from these tiny little biomes by fast traveling. I went to a planet and there was a dune buggy thing on some outpost, and I got excited. I was like, oh, I'm gonna be able to drive this thing around everywhere. Nope. It's literally just decorative. It let me like sit down in the driver's seat, and then I just couldn't, I couldn't pilot it. So I'm like, what is this? Like they expect us to just walk around this like bleak, desert looking planet after planet. And I even saw an article today that said, well, we made a bunch of the planets dull because, when America got to the moon, they didn't think the moon was dull, but there was nothing on there. It's like, this is science fiction. I don't need every planet to be as dull as it is in real life. Like, you have the opportunity to make literally anything you want, and you make nothing. I don't know. I'm getting heated. Let's move on. If I were to pick out some things that they're doing really well, I would definitely say it's the beauty in some of the landscapes is really something to see. Like when you're out exploring, when you don't get like a bleh desert planet, it's really, just awesome to be in. And the performances from a lot of the NPCs are really well done, despite some of the facial animations being a little bit iffy. The writing for a lot of these side quests, especially the side quests, the main story is pretty paper thin, but a lot of those side quests, much in Bethesda fashion, are pretty interesting and engaging and honestly worth spending your time in. So if anything else, if you're just trying to sink 100+ hours into some side quests with some wacky characters, then this is definitely still the game for you.
Budget tours. I have a request from people on the ship to talk with, and I'm surprised you returned ahead. Can I ask the first question?
The space flight itself is fine. The spaceship building is super cool, and it seems like there's a ton of depth to it. And I think the more I play this, and I do intend to keep playing this, I think the more that I play this, the better it's going to get, and the more things I'll unlock, and the more creative I can get with it. So I am excited about that, and it feels cool to be piloting something that you made. I think that's a really cool addition, and even though it does feel a little slow sometimes, I still think it's pretty good for what it is, and it's pretty cool that it's as good as it is in an RPG. So one really cool thing was the unique experiences I felt like I was having. For instance, I was in the beginning, early levels, and there was this like pirate man, and he was like, hey, drop all your stuff, we want your ship. And since I had my persuasion skill selected in the beginning, I was able to talk him out of attacking me. And then right after that, because I'm a little stinker, I went and killed him, and I killed all of his friends, and I took his badass helmet, and I felt like I did that. I could have just walked away, or I could have fought him to begin with, but I talked him out of it, dropped his guard, and then flew his ass up. And I thought that was super cool. And then another time I was on like Pluto or something, and a ship landed, and I went over to it, like I ran all the way over to it, and there was some, raiders or pirates or whatever you call it on there, and I killed them, and I stole the ship, and I thought, that's awesome. That's so cool. And those were the two biggest moments for me that really made me feel like this was unique to me, and I want to keep playing. And then I got on YouTube this morning, and I saw these two videos.
I surprisingly managed to convince him I'm not a threat. He's clearly not a great judge of character. I just murdered 20 of his men. We make peace with the pirates. I proceed to push several of these flammable containers right next to the Pirate King, and he isn't even phased. I then shoot them, killing every single one in a fiery explosion.
There was a moment during this long, empty voyage here through the void where a spaceship flew in, and it was like a random event, some outlaws coming in. They parked, and I snuck aboard their ship, and I killed all of them. And the game has a cool mechanic where you can steal ships, which I think is great.
And damn it if it didn't just suck the wind right out of my sails. I mean, there is a lot to love in this game, right? There's a lot of good stuff, but man, overall, I would say that I am a victim of my own expectations. I bought into the hype, I bought into Todd Howard's sweet little lies, and I never looked back. You know, I just went in headlong, hoping this would be the game that would just blow my whole off, and honestly, it just couldn't live up to the expectations I put on it, and that's not really its fault. But because of where I put it, and because of the things that I wanted out of it, I have to give this a flop. So, and that's not exciting for me. That is very disappointing. I really wanted to like this more, and who knows, I'm gonna keep playing this on the side. Like I want to play Baldur's Gate and Mortal Kombat coming up, but I'm going to keep at it, and maybe it'll show up at the end of the year on my Game of the Year, or I don't know, top 10 things you missed when you were in space, or I don't know. I'm gonna keep at it, is what I'm saying. Because people really do keep saying that 12 hours is this magic number when the game gets good, and I will stick to it, all right? I invested in One Piece. I know that things take some time to cook a little bit, but hopefully you guys enjoy it more, and let me know what you think about it. But I think this is going to bed for a little bit. So, yeah. Bye.
By Vectera, by Vectera, by Vectera! I can't believe it! There's a starman waiting in the sky. He'd like to come and meet us, but he thinks